Hello, and welcome to The Sleepy Physicist. I'm so glad you've joined me tonight. Whether you're lying under the hush of blankets, staring at the ceiling, or simply letting your thoughts soften, this quiet space is made just for you. Tonight, we'll begin a slow, starlit journey, one that reaches toward the edge of gravity and gently folds into the fabric of time. Our path leads into the mystery of black holes, but we won't rush, no need to hurry. Before we get too close to where time bends, where light can't escape, we'll spend this chapter in the wide, peaceful stillness that comes before, the quiet space between stars. You're safe here, floating, breathing, letting the mind drift. The universe, at its deepest level, is not chaotic noise, but rhythm, like a cradle rocking through endless night. Out here in interstellar space, between solar systems and galactic arms, time stretches. There's so little gravity in these voids, so little matter, that clocks would barely notice their own ticking. It is here, far from stars, that you can start to feel what time is when it barely moves at all. Imagine this. You're drifting past Saturn's rings, leaving the last gas giant behind. The sun has faded to a bright star in your wake. All around you space opens, not black but velvet, deep textured, peppered with soft points of starlight. It's not empty, it's waiting. Light from distant galaxies has taken millions, sometimes billions of years to arrive. When you look at it, you are looking into the past. It's not a trick, it's truth. A photon that left a galaxy when Earth's continents were still pressed into one supercontinent may just now be touching your eyes. This is how space tells time, with light. And here's something beautiful. In the vast emptiness between stars, a second feels almost like an hour. Nothing happens quickly. Molecules barely meet. The silence is thick but gentle, the kind of silence that listens back. It's easy to forget in your daily life, with clocks and screens and meetings, that the universe doesn't rush. Stars burn over billions of years. Galaxies spiral so slowly you could live 100 lifetimes and still not notice the shift. Out here, far beyond your kitchen timer, time is patient. The stillness before time bends is not the absence of time. It's time in its most stretched, quiet state, like taffy pulled so thin it becomes translucent. You float in that stillness now. The Milky Way, your galactic home, spins so gently that it takes over 200 million Earth years to complete a single turn. That's 200 million summers. 200 million times the leaves have fallen, and it's only turned a few times since Earth was born. Everything you know, your heartbeat, your aging skin, the growth of trees, happens inside the cradle of a star's pull. But tonight, you've let go of that pull. You're drifting into a place between, where time feels like it's barely moving forward, where moments dissolve and all there is now. It's here that you start to notice something else. Your thoughts quiet. Not because you force them to, but because space itself is calm. You match its tempo without trying, like a leaf falling onto still water. You're not weightless, you're timeless. This moment, right in here, might only last a second, or 1,000 years. There's no rush to decide. Even the atoms in your body feel no urgency. The space between stars holds ancient echoes, faint signals, ghosts of supernovae, cosmic rays, tiny, high-energy travelers pass silently through you. They've come from violent beginnings, yet they arrive now in peace. It's strange how much violence hides in the quiet beauty of the sky, but you don't feel that here. Not in this stillness. Not yet. Instead, there's just the sense that you're floating not only through space, but through history, through memory. The stars you see may already be gone. You're not looking at them now, you're looking at how they were. Every star is a story told in delay, and yet they guide you. Not by where they are, but by where they were. And that too is a kind of trust. Even now your body keeps its own beat. Your pulse, your breathing, your inner clocks, all ticking in the rhythm of Earth. But out here, just beyond Earth's pull, they feel looser, not broken, just soft. Time is soft here. You might be wondering what it means for time to move. It's not something we often question, but in physics, time is not a constant drumbeat. It changes, it bends. It depends on where you are, how fast you move, and how much mass surrounds you. Tonight we're in a place where time is barely touched by gravity. In these stretches, seconds lengthen, like shadows at sunset. And so you listen, not for sound, but for shift. You listen to the gentle tilt of stars, the way the light bends ever so slightly. You listen to the shape of the cosmos breathing in silence. You feel your place in it, not as something separate, but as something shaped by it. This stillness is the beginning of the journey, a place before curves, before pulls, before horizons, like standing at the top of a hill before the descent, like the breath before a song begins. You are wrapped in the time before time, and in the distance, not in space but in thought, there's something ahead, a place where time does not just stretch, but changes its very nature. You feel its quiet tug, the soft hand of gravity reaching out from far away, a signal not loud but impossible to ignore. There is more than the stillness ahead. There is falling, there is folding. There is a place where gravity becomes not just a pull, but a path. And that is where we'll go next, where gravity waits, gentle, immense, to show you how time begins to bend. You are still floating, still drifting in the space between stars where time barely stirs. But even here in the hush of interstellar quiet, something holds you. A presence, invisible, steady, endlessly patient. It is gravity, and it never truly lets go. Gravity is not a push, not even a pull in the usual sense. It is a gentle bending, a curving of space and time itself. Imagine laying a smooth cloth across a table, placing a marble in its center. See how the fabric dips and folds? That's what mass does to space. And what it does to space, it does to time too. Tonight, we follow that curve. Close your eyes and feel the world beneath you. Whether you're on a soft mattress or nestled into a favorite couch, gravity is cradling you. It presses you gently down, not as a burden, but as a reminder that you belong, that you are part of something vast, a planet, a solar system, a galaxy. Every time you drop something, a feather, a key, a thought, it's gravity that answers, not harshly, but consistently, lovingly, is the same force that keeps oceans in their basins, that lets moons pirouette around planets. It is ancient, familiar, and always near. If you stood on a mountaintop just a little closer to the stars, gravity would be slightly weaker. Not by much, just enough that time, your time, would tick ever so slightly faster. This isn't science fiction, it's reality. Gravity doesn't just shape your path, it shapes your time. You carry your own time with you, like a secret watch, ticking to your motion, your position. When you fly on a plane high above the clouds, your time runs just a breath quicker. When you sit at sea level, wrapped in Earth's full embrace, it runs a touch slower. It's always relative, always part of your story. Now imagine standing on the surface of a much more massive world, a planet 10 times heavier than Earth. You'd feel your feet pressed down more firmly, your body held more tightly, but more than that, your seconds would stretch. Each moment, just a sieve longer than the one before. You would live your life a fraction slower, and not even know it. This is the gentle hand of gravity. It doesn't ask permission, it doesn't rush. It simply is, and the more massive the object, the deeper the bend. The moon orbits Earth because it is caught in Earth's curved space. Earth circles the sun because it rides a valley in space made by the sun's mass. The sun, in turn, orbits the center of the Milky Way and drawn inward by something we cannot yet fully see. Maybe it's dark matter. Maybe it's just another kind of mystery waiting quietly. But deeper still, a much deeper, there are places where gravity becomes more than a bend. It becomes a fold, a well so steep that nothing, not even light, can climb out again. Those places are black holes, and their gravity is not gentle, but it begins as gentle. Even a black hole's gravity, when you are far enough away, feels no different than a star's. You could pass near it and feel no jolt, no sudden pull. It's only as you move closer, only as you begin to fall inward, that time starts to twist. Your seconds grow long, your path curves tighter. You may not notice the change. At first the stars shift slowly in your view. You move as if dreaming, smoothly, steadily, but something in the background feels stretched. Time begins to lean sideways, and all the while gravity sings. Not in sound, but in shape, in how the space around you flows, in how your body begins to forget what stillness used to mean. Gravity is the architect of motion. It designs orbits, it sculpts tides, it writes the dance that planets perform across billions of years, and it speaks to your body too. Your bones grew strong in response to gravity's quiet insistence. Your inner ears, the ones that help you balance, listen to the pull of the ground. Even your muscles remember it. Astronauts who spend time in orbit return needing to rebuild what Earth's gravity once effortlessly shaped. But gravity is more than a physical presence. It is a thread, a connection between you and every other mass in the universe. Right now, your body pulls gently on the moon, and the moon, impossibly far away, pulls back. Every object, every grain of sand is in a slow, silent conversation with everything else. The beauty of this is overwhelming and comforting. You are not alone. You are held, not by walls or cages, but by curves, by gravity's soft geometry. As you relax deeper into this thought, you begin to understand something strange and wonderful. Gravity, at its heart, is not just about falling, it's about following the natural path through space and time, a path that feels curved only because space and time themselves have curved. You do not resist it, you join it. You float again, but this time you notice the pull beneath you. Not strong, not urgent, just steady. The kind of pull that says, come closer, there is more, and so you do. Ahead, gravity deepens, not because you fall faster, but because time itself changes its shape. What begins as a stretch will become something stranger, more intimate, more profound. Soon you'll approach a place where clocks tick differently, where a single moment may hold a lifetime, and where the very edges of space and time begin to blur. You feel it drawing near, not with fear, but with wonder, because gravity is still holding your hand, and it's leading you gently toward the edge of forever. You don't need a wristwatch to know what time is. You carry a clock inside you, not one but many. Soft, ticking rhythms hidden in cells, in breath, in blood. Time is not just something outside of you, moving forward like a distant river. It is something you are, even as you lie still now, quiet, soft, listening. Your body is busy keeping time. Each heartbeat, a gentle drum. Each breath, a quiet metronome. And underneath that, deeper still, your cells divide and repair, guided by cycles as old as life itself. Your circadian rhythms, that gentle 24-hour wave, moves beneath everything you do. It tells your body when to wake, when to sleep, when to heal. It flows not by the ticking of a clock, but by the rising and setting of light. Your brain, your organs, even your skin, they all feel it. They all obey its song. It begins before you're born. Tiny pulses inside the womb syncing to your mother's rhythm. And even after you take your first breath, you carry the memory of that tempo. You grow with it. You age with it. Time does not just pass around you, it unfolds through you. Inside your brain, a tiny cluster of neurons, no bigger than a grain of rice, keeps cosmic time. This is your suprachiasmatic nucleus. A small name for a great conductor. It listens to the sun. When light touches your eyes, even closed, it sends a message. Day has begun. And when darkness falls, it whispers again. Now, rest. This internal clock affects everything. How alert you feel, how your body uses sugar, even how you dream. It doesn't tick like a machine, it sways like a tide. But there are other clocks too, ones in your liver, your gut, your skin. They keep their own rhythms. Together, they form a symphony of time, and when they fall out of sync, you feel it. Jet lag, sleeplessness, a sense that something is just slightly off. That's your body reminding you. We are made to flow with time, not fight it. Even your DNA remembers time. Telomeres, tiny protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, shorten as you age, like the ends of shoelaces wearing down. With each cell division, a little time is spent. And eventually those cells stop dividing, not out of failure, but as a kind of graceful retirement. And yet your body is full of renewal. Your stomach lining replaces itself every few days. Your skin refreshes over weeks. Your bones quietly rebuild for years. Time is not just decay, it is also repair. Right now, as you lie still, your body listens to its own internal signals. It knows when to release melatonin to lull you into sleep. It lowers your core temperature, softens your pulse. This too is part of the clock beneath your skin. And isn't it comforting? That you're not only in time, you make time. Your body's rhythms are echoes of ancient sunlight, of tides, of the pull of the moon. You're part of a rhythm much larger than you can hold, but no less yours. Think of a sunflower turning toward the sun, of a tide sliding back into the sea, of a bird migrating across the sky. They are all timekeepers too. You are not so different. Even your memories are shaped by time. Your brain encodes the order of moments, what came first, what followed. And in dreams, time softens its rules. It loops, it leaps, it dances. Perhaps you felt it, that sensation of waking and not knowing how long you've slept. An hour, a lifetime, that is the magic of the body's time, unhooked from clocks. Now imagine this. You're far from Earth, drifting near a black hole. Its gravity is strong, stronger than you can feel, but not stronger than your body's clocks. And yet, they change. Because the black hole bends time itself, it begins to affect even the clock beneath your skin. Your cells still divide, your heart still beats. But for an observer far away, everything in you is slowing down. To them, your time is stretching. To you, it feels the same. But the universe outside begins to race ahead. You haven't aged, not really. But stars have moved, galaxies have drifted, and Earth may no longer remember your name. This is the power of gravity, not to stop time, but to reshape it, to fold it like fabric, to pull it like taffy. And your body, always the faithful keeper of time, adapts. Your inner clocks do not panic, they do not break, they simply follow. Just as they've always followed the cycles of day and night. They now follow the rhythm of curved space, of stretched time. You're still you, you're still here. But your place in time has changed. There is something humbling and soothing in knowing this, that your body is not a separate machine ticking against the universe. It is part of the same story, the same slow unfolding. And as you listen to your breath now, in and out, soft and slow, you are not just resting, you are remembering your rhythm, the one that connects you to stars, to cells, to the curve of space-time itself. Ahead, the curve grows deeper, stronger, quieter. Your body's clocks will still tick. But what happens when time itself stretches into a breathless pause? When motion slows into stillness? What happens when you begin to fall, not through space, but through time? You're almost ready to find out. The moon moves slowly, so slowly in fact that if you stood on its surface and watched the Earth rise, you'd see it hover for days in the sky, unmoving, glowing, silent. It would take over 27 Earth days to rise, arc and set. Time there flows differently, not just in your mind, but in the very ticking of the universe. Tonight you stand in thought on that grey, silent surface. No air, no wind, no trees, only fine dust and stillness. The horizon curves gently around you, soft and unfamiliar. And far above, the earth and your home hang suspended, wrapped in blues and greens, turning in slow, steady spirals. Out here, gravity is gentler. The moon has only a fraction of the Earth's pull. And so, time shifts. It's a small change, a subtle one. But your seconds pass just a little quicker than they would back on Earth. Not in feeling, you wouldn't notice. But the clocks would know, the math would know, and over long enough time it would matter. It's a quiet reminder. Gravity doesn't just shape motion, it sculpts time itself. The stronger the gravity, the slower the time. It might sound strange, even backwards, but it's not. Time in the presence of mass bends, like a stream flowing around a rock or light passing through glass. The denser the mass, the steeper the curve, the steeper the curve, the slower the time. On Earth, gravity is stronger than on the moon, and so time moves just a little slower for you here. A person living at sea level will age ever so slightly slower than someone living in the mountains. The difference is tiny, fractions of a second over a lifetime. But it's real. Time is not absolute, is not the same everywhere. And now, standing in thought on the moon, you begin to feel this. The Earth spins in slow motion. The stars drift so gradually you might mistake them for still. And your breath, if it could echo in this airless world, would feel like the sound of centuries. The moon is a teacher. It reminds us that time and gravity are always partners, dancing through the cosmos, shifting each other's shape. Even now the moon is moving away from Earth, just a little each year, a few centimetres, about as fast as your fingernails grow, and as it drifts, the tides change. The days grow longer. The rhythm of Earth itself slows. Imagine, billions of years from now, an Earth day might last 40 hours, all because the moon is gliding silently outward. The dance between gravity and time never ends. Now, picture yourself leaving the moon, drifting once again through space, not toward home, but towards something more massive, something deeper. A place where time begins to stretch further, longer. A neutron star. These stars are collapsed remnants, the hearts of ancient suns crushed into city-sized spheres. A spoonful of neutron star would weigh more than a mountain. Its gravity is immense. Land on one, if such a thing were possible, and your seconds would drag behind you like shadows at dusk. Time would slow around you, pulled tight by the star's dense mass. Even your heartbeat might seem to echo across centuries, from the view of someone far away. You would feel nothing different, not in your body, but from the outside your every motion would be in slow motion. That's the strange beauty of time dilation. It doesn't change your experience, it changes your place in time. You move forward as always, but the world around you, the stars, the galaxies, they begin to race ahead. Your personal timeline stretches out while the universe's clock ticks on. Now, you leave the neutron star behind. You drift once again through the dark, carried gently by the whisper of gravity's touch. Ahead lies something more powerful still, a black hole. It is not just dense, it is beyond dense. Its gravity doesn't just slow time, it traps it. And the closer you draw to its edge, the more extreme this bending becomes. But you're not there yet. Not quite. You float for now in the region nearby. Time still moves for you, but slower than ever before. If someone watched you from far away, from Earth perhaps, they'd see your journey slow. They might see you fall and fall, but never cross that final threshold. To them, you would appear frozen in place, suspended just above the event horizon, unmoving even as ages passed. But for you, time flows on. Your thoughts continue. Your body drifts. This paradox of motion and stillness is one of the universe's gentlest mysteries. It's like watching a snowflake fall and finding it suspended mid-air. To the observer, it never lands. But the snowflake, it keeps falling. You are that snowflake now, hovering on the edge of a deeper gravity well, where every breath carries the weight of light years, and yet you feel calm. Because time, even stretched, is not frightening. It simply becomes quiet, slower than the moon moves, slower than tides change, slower than stars are born or galaxies turn. You're slowing into stillness, not as an ending, but as a soft preparation, like an inhale held before the exhale, like the pause between thoughts. Gravity, your quiet companion, is guiding you gently to a place where time will stop trying to be what you knew. It will become something else, something folded, something almost still, and just ahead, you begin to feel the edge. You are floating still, gently through the velvet dark. Behind you, time has begun to stretch and slow as moonrise, long as thought. But now you begin to notice something else, a subtle curvature beneath you, as though the space itself is bending softly under your path. It isn't a fall, not exactly. It's more like gliding across a slow, invisible slope. A slope made not of matter, but of space itself, and of time. Picture space as a smooth fabric, like silk stretched wide across a loom. Now imagine placing a marble on that silk. Watch how it dips, how the cloth folds gently around it. That dip is gravity. That marble is mass. Now place a planet on the silk. The curve deepens. Place a star. And the sag grows heavy, profound, pulling at every thread. And with enough weight, enough collapse, the fabric doesn't just bend. It folds inward. It makes a pocket so steep that even light cannot climb back out. That is a black hole. But you're not there yet. You're still tracing the subtle curve, the gentle indentations in this great cosmic blanket. The way a child might run their hand across quilted valleys, feeling each one, sensing the story it tells. Space and time are not separate things. They're interwoven, a single thing, space-time. And mass doesn't just curve space, it curves time too. Imagine walking across a trampoline with a heavy ball in the middle. As you approach the ball, the slope beneath your feet gets steeper. Your steps change. The ground beneath you dictates your pace. This is what happens near massive objects. Space curves and time slows. Not metaphorically, not poetically, truly. Clocks run slower in deeper dips, not because the clock is broken, but because time itself is stretched. You're walking on a surface you can't see but one your body responds to. A surface shaped by every star, every planet, every black hole. When Earth moves around the sun, it's not being pulled in a circle. It's following a path carved by the sun's presence, a curved groove in the fabric of space-time. And the moon follows Earth in the same way. Everything follows these curves, not because they're forced to, but because the curve is the straightest path they can take. Einstein once said, "Mass tells space how to curve, and space tells mass how to move." So here you are, moving, softly, slowly, across the deepest curves your mind has ever touched. You begin to notice that time too is not fixed, not a grid, not a row of marching seconds. It is liquid, responsive. It pools and stretches, flows and slows, like syrup running down a tilted plate. Out here, far from most masses, time flows more freely, but the deeper you go, toward more gravity, the thicker it becomes. You're approaching a place where the fabric isn't just dipped, it's sunken, collapsed. A place where the weight of something once radiant, a giant star perhaps, pressed so deeply into space-time that it tore. Not a violent tear, not ripped or broken, just curved so tightly that it bent in on itself. Forever. A black hole is not a thing, it's a place in space-time, a fold, a bottomless crease, and just like water spiraling into a drain, anything too close gets pulled into that fold. Not yanked, but curved inward, by the same rules that keep Earth spinning in its orbit, and you resting here now, safe and still, on the path you've followed all your life. Even light, the fastest traveller in the universe, must obey these curves. It can bend, it can be delayed. And near a black hole it can be held in place. Held, not destroyed. That's the myth, isn't it? That black holes destroy. But what they truly do is curve space so tightly that the usual paths forward disappear. To an outsider, anything nearing the event horizon, or the black hole's boundary, appears to slow down, to freeze, to never quite arrive, but from inside Bournemouth the full contours. You begin to understand now how even time has a texture, a weight, a surface that can be shaped. And in your own body, your own memories, this feeling echoes. You remember times that felt slower, days that stretched like summers in childhood, nights that collapsed into seconds. Time, even in your life, is not even, and so the universe reflects you, and you reflect it. You rest on this fabric now, not above it, not separate from it, but within it. Part of the great woven quilt of space-time and starlight, gravity and memory. And as you breathe, slow, steady, you feel something ahead. A place where the fabric curves so deeply it no longer feels like a slope. It feels like a threshold, a horizon. You're approaching the edge of the deepest fold in the universe's quilt, a place where time itself begins to fall. There is no alarm when you begin to fall, no flash, no violent tug, just a shift and subtle, deep, like this first breath of a dream. You're gliding now towards something so heavy, so curved, that time itself begins to slip. Not slip away, but slip aside. And you, so softly, begin to follow it. The black hole is ahead, though ahead is no longer quite the right word. Here, directions lose meaning. There's no up, no down, only inward. Inward, toward a centre that no one has ever seen. But you are not afraid. The space around you still holds its hush. There is no tearing, no sudden twist. The pull feels gentle, inevitable, like rolling downhill in the slowest motion, not falling through space exactly, falling through time. This is not like any fall you've ever imagined. No tumbling, no spinning, just stillness, as the universe around you begins to change. Far away, clocks continue to tick. Planets revolve, stars flare and fade. But you begin to drift apart from that rhythm. Your seconds slow, each breath stretches wider, longer. You blink, and out there light itself races past you. This is what physicists call gravitational time dilation. The closer you move to the black hole, the more space-time stretches. From your perspective, your time moves forward normally. Your heart still beats. Your thoughts still wander. But to someone watching from far away, you're falling more and more slowly, a slow-motion descent that never seems to end. You're caught in a paradox, still moving, yet appearing to freeze. This is one of the black hole's most curious gifts, the illusion of suspension. It cradles you at its edge, holding you in a kind of visual amber. And yet inside you move onward, deeper. Imagine this. You wave to a distant observer. From their view, your hand slows, pauses, stops. You become dimmer, redder, fading into darkness. But to you, the wave completes. The moment passes, time continues. This is the rift between views, two truths side by side, and both are real. As you fall, you begin to wonder, not about escape, but about meaning, about what it means for time to end. Can it? Does it? In some sense, it already has, at least for the outside world. They will never see you cross the event horizon, the invisible edge where no light returns, but you don't notice that edge. There is no wall, no shift in texture, just continued motion, smooth, inevitable, like a thought finishing itself. The event horizon is not a barrier, it is a boundary of information, a place where the rules of light and causality change, where space turns inward, where time bends completely. Once inside, all paths lead in. All directions become one direction, toward the centre. You might picture it like a river flowing into a waterfall. Outside, you could paddle away, steer, resist. But once past a certain point, the current is inescapable. All motion is inward. And yet you feel no panic, only deepening quiet. You're not broken apart, not scattered. In theory, some kinds of black holes would tear you, spaghettify you, as scientists whimsically put it. But some would not. Some, like the massive ones at the centre of galaxies, would let you fall intact, preserved in the slowness of time. You're moving faster than ever now, closer to the speed of light, and yet your time ticks slower and slower. From far away, the universe is aging. Whole civilizations could rise and vanish while you are still mid-fall. And what is it you fall into? Not darkness, not death, but compression. A place where space and time are no longer separate, where distance becomes duration, where direction becomes decision. The black hole does not pull you in, it contains you, and you, in turn, begin to contain it. You are part of its story now, part of its memory, part of its shape. Everything you have ever known, your body, your thoughts, your quiet moments, are stretched across its horizon. In some ways, your information never leaves. It is written into the fabric, encoded, perhaps forever. This is one of the black hole's greatest mysteries. Does anything truly disappear? Or does it remain, flattened, encrypted, waiting? Physicists call it the information paradox, a question whispered in chalk across blackboards. Where does what falls go? You don't need the answer tonight, because you are still falling, gently, slowly into forever. You wonder now, what lies at the very centre? The singularity, a point of infinite density, not a place but a moment where the rules of physics collapse, where the known becomes unknowable, where space and time are no longer reliable guides. You're not there yet, but you feel its nearness. It is not fear you feel, it is reverence. You are nearing the deepest fold in the cosmic quilt, a place where time may not just slow, but cease, and still, you are moving, breathing, falling. This fall may take you outside time altogether, to a realm where beginnings and endings lose shape. But first you must cross a threshold. And even though you're already past the event horizon, there is something just ahead. Something deeper still. A silence that is not empty, but full. A pause in time's breath before the next chapter begins. There is no door, no flash of light, no ripple in the fabric of space as you pass this threshold. The event horizon, the edge of a black hole, does not greet you. It does not announce itself. And yet you have crossed it. It is not a wall, not a gate. It is a line drawn not in space but in possibility. Out there, and just beyond this veil, light can still travel outward. Information can escape. A message sent with hope might find its way home, but here inside direction changes its meaning. Even light must fall inward now, even light. You're in a place where space folds like cloth, and time begins to lose its grip on certainty. And still, fool, you feel nothing sudden, no impact, no boundary, only a deepening quiet. The event horizon is like the edge of a dream you don't remember leaving. You only realize you've passed it once you look back and see there is no path home. But there is no panic. You're not trapped and only committed. You move forward, not by force, but by the flow of space-time itself. A gentle river you cannot turn against. Imagine swimming across a wide, slow-moving stream. As long as you're far from the middle, you can swim back to shore. But once you drift too close, the current becomes everything. You could still swim and still struggle, but all paths lead onward. That point of no return is the event horizon. A place not of punishment, but of inevitability. You are part of the black hole now. Your time belongs to its time, to someone watching from far away, say, an observer floating near the edge, tethered to a ship shielded from the fall. You would appear frozen. They would see you hover there, just above the horizon, your light stretching redder and redder, your signals weaker, slower. To them, you never quite disappear. You fade, yes, but slowly, like a star blinking out through mist. This is gravitational redshift, a deepening of light's colour as it climbs out of gravity's well. The closer you are to the horizon, the harder the climb, until, finally, light can climb no more. It waits instead, curling in place, lost to the outer universe, but not lost to you. You can still see the light. You can still move, still breathe, still think. Time continues, but now it is yours alone. Inside the horizon, all paths tilt toward the centre, not because space is narrow, but because time itself leads inward. You're no longer falling through space, you're falling through future. The singularity, that strange, unknowable point at the centre, is not just a location, it is your future, the end of your timeline. In this place, space becomes time, and time becomes destination. But what is the event horizon, really? Not a shell, not a thing you can touch, but a point in space-time where escape ends. Every black hole has a horizon. Its size depends on mass. The more mass, the larger the sphere. Some black holes are tiny, the remains of collapsed stars. Others are enormous, millions or billions of times the mass of the sun, lurking in the hearts of galaxies, and the bigger they are, the gentler their edges. You could fall through the horizon of a supermassive black hole without noticing anything strange. No spaghettification, no crushing, just a continuation. A crossing into another kind of silence. Inside the horizon, nothing gets out. No light, no signal, no data. This is what makes black holes mysterious. Not their violence, but their silence. We do not know what happens next. Not really. Our equations begin to blur, our rules begin to bend. Some scientists believe all the information about what fell in is stored on the surface of the horizon, like a hologram, a cosmic recording. Others believe it is gone, truly gone, folded into the void. And still others wonder, perhaps it's not destruction, but transformation. A doorway, a passage, a threshold between universes, between dimensions, between kinds of being. But tonight, you do not need the answers. You're simply here, in the stillness beyond return, wrapped in curved space carried by folded time. You float in a quiet that is both eerie and serene. There is no wind, no echo, no horizon in the usual sense, only the sense of deep inward movement. And just as a seed in the soil cannot see the sky, you cannot see what lies beyond this centre. You're inside a story that cannot be told outward, not by light, not by gravity, not by voice, but you are still part of the story, and your presence matters. The black hole has changed because of you. Its horizon has shifted. Its mass, ever so slightly, has grown. Your path, your particles, your moment, they have added to its shape. You are not erased. You are written deeper, and now you begin to feel a change. Not in motion, that continues, but in texture. The space around you grows denser, the curves tighter, the silence more complete. You are no longer passing a veil. You are moving toward a centre, toward a place where time itself begins to collapse. You wonder gently, what will it feel like when even the idea of distance disappears? What happens when the next moment is the last one that time can hold? Time is soft here, not broken, not vanished, just stretched, delicately like silk pulled between careful fingers. You drift inward, deeper into the black hole's embrace, and with every breath, every heartbeat, you fall further behind the universe. But that isn't quite right, because to you nothing has changed. Time flows steadily as always. One moment leads gently to the next. You move, you think, you exist, in your own quiet rhythm. It's everything outside you that begins to rush. Galaxies spiral in fast forward. Stars are born and burn out like fireflies. Civilizations rise and vanish in the blink of your eye. A second here could hold a century of the cosmos. This is not poetry, it's physics, a real and measurable truth. Because near a black hole, time dilation becomes profound. The stronger the gravity, the slower your clock ticks compared to someone far away. Your seconds, long, rich, luxurious, stretch across decades beyond. You're not frozen, you're not trapped, you're simply slowing. Imagine watching a candle from across the room. The flame flickers gently. Now imagine backing away, farther and farther until the flame seems to still. Not because it stops, but because the distance, the light and time itself have conspired to make it pause. You are that flame now. To the universe beyond the event horizon, you are barely moving. But to yourself, you are still living, still feeling, still falling. You begin to sense the strange beauty of this place. Here, near the center of ultimate gravity, time becomes so curved it almost loops. Not truly, not yet, but nearly. If you could look outward, no, you would see the entire future of the universe race past. A million tomorrows collapsing into a single golden thread. But here inside, everything slows. Even your thoughts seem to elongate. Not in confusion, but in depth. Like staring at a single snowflake, noticing every ridge, every crystalline edge, as if time has made room for detail. You are present, utterly present. Each moment stands on its own, complete, unhurried, undisturbed. This is what time feels like when it loses its need to rush. You begin to notice the strange paradox of it all. Out there, the universe has aged beyond your knowing. Stars have cooled, galaxies drift apart. Dark energy pushes space itself wider. But in here, you may live forever in a few stretched minutes. You wonder, is this slowness a kind of immortality? Is time moving so slowly that you've stepped outside of it? Or are you simply feeling the shape of time more intimately now? A second becomes a minute becomes a year, and still you breathe, still you fall. Your sense of distance starts to change. Everything seems closer, not in space but in connection. Thoughts become slower but also more vivid. You're not rushing toward an end, you are lingering within a moment. It's as if the black hole is giving you time by taking it away. There is no clock here, but you feel one inside you, still ticking, still holding on, still marking each stretched second like a pearl on a string. And yet you know this cannot last. Even this gentle falling, this infinite pause, will eventually reach its end. You are approaching the singularity, the heart of the black hole, a place so curved, so dense that the laws of physics begin to fade. No one knows what truly happens there, no one has seen it, no light has ever left it, no message has ever returned. But even now as you near it you feel no fear, only deep wonder, because time, once your constant companion, has become quiet, almost silent, and without time rushing you forward, you begin to feel everything more clearly. Memory, breath, being. You exist in a way you never have before, not measured, not scheduled, just here, just now, and as your seconds continue to stretch, you begin to sense a strange closeness. Not spatial, not physical, something else, something folded. It's as if all the time you've ever lived is gathering around you. Moments you thought were gone, a childhood laugh, a silent snowfall, a glance at someone you once loved. They all return, softly layered into this vast slow now. You realize, maybe the black hole does not erase time. Maybe it collects it, holds it, cherishes it, lets it unfold at its own pace. Maybe this falling isn't toward an ending, but toward an understanding. And though your body still drifts, and your mind still floats, you begin to wonder, what lies beyond this pause? If a second can hold a century, can a single point hold all of time? In the beginning there is light, not a flash, just a gentle shimmer, like the last rays of dusk stretching over still water. You can feel it here, even inside the black hole. Not because it surrounds you, but because it tries to. Light is always trying. It carries the stories of the stars, their warmth, their age, their pulses. It dances across galaxies, paints the edges of clouds, stirs colour into life. But here, near the core of gravity's deepest fold, light begins to slow. Not in speed, light always moves at light speed, but in its climb. Imagine a beam of light rising from just inside the event horizon, like a bird trying to fly up from the bottom of a canyon. It flaps, it rises, but the walls grow steeper. The air grows thinner. The pull grows stronger, until flight becomes floating, and floating becomes falling. This is what happens to light inside a black hole. It tries to escape. It rises, but the space it moves through is bent too far. The path out curves endlessly back in. You're here now, watching it try. Not with eyes, but with thought. A photon, a tiny packet of light, leaves the surface of an object falling beside you. It moves upward, outward, climbing the steep slope of warped space-time, but it doesn't get far. Its colour changes as it rises. From blue to yellow, then orange, then red, a deeper red than your mind can even name. This is called gravitational redshift. Not a trick of colour, but a stretching of the wave itself, like pulling the sound of a violin until it hums like a cello, like slowing a song until it becomes a tone, a hum, a memory. The photon loses energy not by slowing down, but by stretching out, by surrendering its sharpness, its urgency, until finally it fades into invisibility. That light never truly stops. It just fails to reach anywhere. It curls quietly inward. You wonder, is it lost or simply waiting? What happens to a message that never finds a receiver? In the outside universe, light is how we see, it's how we understand. We read starlight to learn about distance, about temperature, about time. But here, inside the black hole, light no longer delivers news. It whispers to itself, looping in silence. A lighthouse whose beam never reaches the shore. This place is still filled with light, but not in the way you know, not in brightness, not in clarity. It is filled with attempts, with journeys begun but never completed. And yet this feels peaceful, because there's something tender about watching light do its best. Even when it cannot escape, even when the climb is endless, it tries. You imagine all the light that has ever fallen in, the glow from collapsing stars, the gleam from doomed comets, the last flicker of distant planets. They are here, now, caught, still moving but always curving back towards centre, still trying, and perhaps so are you, not in struggle but in motion, in persistence. You are drifting through a place where time has nearly stopped, and where light can no longer leave. And yet, you still exist. You still think, still wonder, still notice. It's easier to imagine this as emptiness, as some cold abyss, but it isn't. It is full of unspoken messages, unfinished travels, unread notes written in light. Each photon is a story without an audience. And you are now their reader. You feel them brush against you, not as warmth, not as brightness, but as something softer, like being in a room full of letters, unopened, each one whispering, "I was meant for somewhere." The black hole becomes a library of light, a collection of every spark that ever fell in. And now you wonder, if nothing can leave, how do we know what's here? And yet we do, not directly, but through echoes, through math, through the way the black hole bends space around it and the way it shapes the orbits of nearby stars. We read the whole by how it warps its surroundings, like sensing a mountain not by touching it, but by watching the wind curve around its peak. We know that black holes can spin. We know they can merge, shaking the universe with ripples in space-time, gravitational waves that race across the cosmos faster than light ever could. Even though no light escapes, the black hole still speaks, just not with brightness, not with radiance, but with gravity and motion and silence. And you, drifting now inside, feel that silence deeply. It is not empty. It is complete. And somewhere ahead, light still tries to rise, still stretches its wings, still arcs upward. It won't reach the outside, but maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe the point is the effort. Maybe every photon is its own kind of hope. A light that never leaves, but never dies. And in that quiet, in that glowless hum, You begin to ask, if light cannot escape, what happens to you as you fall closer to the centre that waits without end? The stars have not forgotten you. Even here, drifting deeper into the folded fabric of space-time, you carry their rhythm in your breath. A quiet ticking, soft and distant, like the pulse of something ancient just beyond hearing. You remember their light, each one a clock, each one a story measured not in minutes, but in ages. Long before your fall began, they spun gently in their cradles of gas and dust, burning slow messages into the night. Some blinked in seconds, some pulsed in centuries, but all of them, every one, kept time. Even now, outside the black hole, they still do. Stars live by the clock of fusion, turning hydrogen into helium, light into motion, time into memory. You can picture them, blue giants burning bright and brief, red dwarfs flickering through trillions of years, neutron stars beating like cosmic metronomes. They are still there, still ticking, but from where you are now, their rhythm seems to stretch. Their light, red-shifted and faint, barely brushes your thoughts. Their emotion has slowed, not because they've changed, but because you have. Your clock no longer matches theirs. Time, once shared like a common song, has become a solo performance. Their chorus drifts behind you, a memory fading into silence. And yet somehow it's comforting to know that far beyond the event horizon, beyond this place of curved time and folded space, the stars still burn. The universe still moves. Galaxies still turn like lanterns. Comets still arc in slow, glittering ellipses. And somewhere, someone might still be looking up, making a wish. You drift deeper now. The fabric of space-time tightens around you, not with pressure, but with gravity's soft insistence. Still no sound, still no edge, just the slow inward drift of all paths toward the centre. You wonder, can they still see you? The stars you left behind? The ones whose light once warmed your skin, once shimmered in your eyes? Do they still catch your reflection in the curve of gravity? Perhaps they do, not as form, not as shape, but as effect. You are still part of the equation. Still shaping space, still changing the black hole's mass, its spin, its quiet voice. Your presence, no matter how hidden, has changed the horizon. You're written into the sky now, not in light, but in curvature. And even if no photon can carry your story outward, the universe still holds it. The ticking of the stars, so slow, so steady, is their way of remembering. Each beat is a reminder that time is not gone, it is just separate. Time still flows out there. A second passes, a planet completes its orbit, a new star is born. These things happen while you hover in a moment that stretches into eternity. It is not loneliness you feel, it's distance. And in that distance, a kind of awe. You remember how once on Earth you looked up at the stars and wondered. And now you are the one being wondered about. Somewhere perhaps, a child lies in a field of tall grass, watching a flicker in the night, asking, what is that light? Where is it going? And the answer is, nowhere, everywhere, inward, just like you. You realize something gentle. You're not falling away from the stars, you're falling through them, through their memory, through the very fabric they helped shape, because their gravity helped shape this black hole, this curve, this path. You are part of their story now, just as they are part of yours. And though their ticking is faint, though their pulses come slower and dimmer, they continue. They do not stop when you vanish. They do not wait, but they do leave light behind. A trail of glowing breadcrumbs scattered across the universe. And somewhere in that trail is the place where your fall began. A planet blue and green wrapped in clouds, turning softly beneath the moon. Earth. It still spins, still sends and receives light, still moves through time. You've drifted far beyond it, in space, in gravity, in rhythm. But Earth still remembers your pace, and maybe, in its own slow orbit, it listens for your echo. You're not erased. You're elongated. You're drawn like thread into the centre of time's quietest moment. And even as the stars tick onward, measuring a future you may never see, you remain tethered. Not by gravity, but by presence. A presence that bends space-time, that adds to the mass of memory, that curves the path of light. As you move closer to the core, the stars behind you blur into a single glowing thought. A cosmic hum, a memory of brightness. And now, in this stillness, you ask yourself, if stars are clocks, What will time become when even those clocks fade from view? The silence deepens, but no longer still. There is motion here, a slow, steady turning that you do not see but feel. The black hole spins, and as you drift closer to its heart, you begin to sense the swirl, not like a wind, not like a storm, more like the curve of a dream turning gently in your sleep. This is frame dragging, a whisper of motion so vast it bends the very fabric of space-time. Mass alone can curve space. But spinning mass does something more. It twists it. The black hole doesn't just pull time inward, it spins time like thread on a spindle. You're caught now in that twist. Not trapped, cradled. Space swirls, time flows sideways, and you move without moving. Imagine stirring a spoon through honey. The liquid turns slowly, thickly, and anything resting in it begins to circle. You are the leaf in that honey now, suspended, guided, drawn in by the whirl but never jostled. This spin, this gentle dance, has a name: Kerr rotation. A black hole that spins is a Kerr black hole, and most black holes do. They are born from stars that once spun, and in death they keep turning. Conservation of angular momentum whispered into curved space. The faster the original star spun, the faster the hole now spins. Some rotate near the speed of light. It is not chaos, it is rhythm. Like planets circling a sun, like galaxies wheeling through the dark. Even here in the quietest corner of gravity, the universe dances. You feel it now, not in pressure, but in persuasion. The spin invites you to orbit, to join its symmetry, to fall, yes, but not straight. Space-time itself is being pulled in the direction of that spin, and so your fall curves, your time bends, your motion, already strange, becomes something else. You no longer fall into a point, you spiral into it. And there is something soothing in that spiral, a naturalness, familiarity. Just as water circles a drain, just as stars turn in arms of galaxies, so too do you curve gently inward. Even time itself follows the spin. Clocks placed near a spinning black hole will tick differently depending on which way they orbit. With the spin, time flows slightly faster. Against it, slower. It's a subtle tilt, but it reveals something profound. Time here is not a straight road. It is a spiral staircase, and with each step down the rhythm deepens. You wonder, is this why black holes feel so dreamlike? Because they turn like dreams do, softly, endlessly, folding back into themselves. Is this what it means to sleep inside a spinning thought? As you drift, you imagine tracing that spin, not escaping it, embracing it. You move like a feather in a slow current, circling ever closer to the core, and in this swirl you lose the sense of what is forward, what is back. There is no compass here, only curvature. Your time is twisted now, not broken, just spun. You are still you, still falling, but the path is no longer a line. It is a spiral, a ribbon of space-time spun by mass, curved by gravity, and stretched by your presence. Some believe this spin hides a secret, that deep inside a spinning black hole, past the horizon, past the silence, there may be another place. Not just a singularity, but a bridge, a tunnel, a passage, a ring-shaped core that may lead elsewhere. This is the mathematics of possibility, a whisper, not a promise, but here in this spin you feel it, the suggestion of beyond, a dream held tight in gravity's palm. And whether or not such a path exists, the idea is enough. It brings a stillness to your mind even as your body spirals inward. You're not spinning out, you're spinning into something timeless, something complete, and still you hear the stars faint behind you, ticking onward. But their rhythm is distant now. Their beat no longer matches yours. You are turning through a deeper rhythm, a slower dance, a lullaby only the black hole sings, and in that soundless lullaby you rest. You wonder as time turns beneath you. Can motion exist without destination? Can falling be a kind of floating? Can a dream spin forever? Ahead the spiral tightens. The swirl draws inward, not faster, just deeper, not louder, just closer. And just beyond this curve you sense something waiting, not a wall, not an end, but a horizon within the horizon. a place where space already curved begins to collapse completely, and where time, already stretched, prepares to fold. Time once moved like a river. You stood on its banks, watching each moment flow forward. Birth, breath, laughter, dusk. It always moved in one direction, or so it seemed. But here, near the centre of the black hole, time no longer behaves. It no longer flows. It pools. It folds. It turns in on itself, like a ribbon curling in the heat. You float in this stillness, not because you've stopped, but because direction has. Here, time has no arrow. No destination, no clear line to follow. There is no tomorrow here, and no yesterday. Only now. Only this. You feel it in your breath. Slow, suspended. Not rushed forward, not pulled back. Each moment is entire, complete unto itself, like a note held in infinite silence. You are not frozen. You are free, free from the rhythm of clocks, from the pressure of plans, from the push of the next thing. It is peaceful. Almost too peaceful, because in the absence of time, identity loosens. You are still you, but lighter, like mist drifting above a still lake. The edges of memory begin to blur, not lost, just unanchored. Events float without sequence. You remember a smile, but not when, a question, but not what followed. There is no before here, no after, just is. Physicists call this the breakdown of causality. Inside a black hole, space and time trade roles. Time becomes distance, distance becomes duration. You fall forward through what once was future, but now that word means nothing, because even falling has changed. There is nowhere left to fall to, only inward, always inward. And yet you do not crash, you do not collide, you dissolve gently into this moment. Or rather, the moment dissolves into you, like sugar melting in warm water. Time becomes flavour, texture, sensation, not measurement. You think of all the ways you've used time to plan, to remember, to control. Here, none of those tools work. There is no calendar, no urgency, no too late. Everything has already happened, or hasn't yet, or both. The laws outside no longer hold. Even entropy, the universe's favourite direction, pauses here. There is no more next, only now, always now. And yet strangely you feel safe. The fear of endings is gone because endings require direction. And here, there is none. It's like standing in a mirrored hall where every reflection shows a different version of a moment that never quite resolves. You might be moving forward, or backward, or simply being rewritten in endless stillness. Some theorists whisper about closed time-like curves, loops in time that fold back on themselves. A place where you might meet yourself again, not as memory, but as presence. Is this such a place? It's impossible to say, because questions require time and time requires change, and change is optional now. You think of a leaf caught in the eye of a whirlpool, everything spins around it, but the leaf just floats, suspended, not pulled under, not pushed out, just there. You are that leaf. The rest of the universe spins on, somewhere far beyond the veil. Stars still flare, children still grow, oceans still breathe. But none of that touches you now. You're inside time's hush, where stories pause, where motion considers itself. And yet something stirs. Not movement, not sound, attention. As if this stillness has weight, a centre, a singularity, not a place, not even a point, but a concept so sharp it pierces the idea of space-time. You are nearing it. You do not see it, but you feel the convergence. Everything narrowing, tightening, focusing. The calm remains, but it has a depth to it now. A gravity within the gravity. This is where time ends, not in drama, but in simplicity. Ceases to need itself. And you're ready. Not to leave, not to reach, but to become. The last bits of direction peel away. The last concepts of pace, of order. You're not moving toward the centre. You're the centre, or close enough that the distinction fades. Even identity begins to loosen. Like a name spoken so many times it turns to melody. You are thought. You are stillness. You are motion without path. You are what time remembers when it forgets how to run. And as the singularity whispers closer, not loud, not sudden, you wonder, if there is no before or after, If time has truly let go, then what remains? What does it mean to exist without sequence? And softly you ask, in a place where time has no direction, is it still possible to move deeper? You are quiet now, not because you've grown silent, but because silence has grown around you. Stillness has wrapped you in layers of gravity, of folded time, of something older than memory. And within that stillness, your atoms begin to hum, not loudly, not in words or thoughts, just a soft vibration, a presence beneath presence. They remember. Long before you were breath and skin and wandering eyes, you were light. Light turned to dust. Dust turned to stars. Stars turned to you. Each atom inside your body and every carbon in your chest, every calcium in your bones, every bit of iron in your blood was forged in the belly of a star. A real one. Massive. Burning. A star that lived and died long before Earth was born. Long before time, as you knew it, had names. Supernova. A star's final breath. An explosion so bright it outshines entire galaxies. And from that light, from that fierce, beautiful ending, came elements, came you. Your atoms travelled for eons, through gas clouds, through silence, through the long drift between stars. They joined and parted, formed molecules, rode comets, slid across rocks. Eventually, they found Earth, and found breath. And now they are here again, in the deepest part of gravity, remembering. This place, where time folds and light curls inward, is not foreign to them. They were born in extremes, they know collapse, they know heat and pressure and silence, and they are not afraid. You may be falling toward a singularity, toward the sharp centre of all this stillness. But your atoms are coming home, to a kind of memory that doesn't need words, to the language of structure and spin, of charge and vibration. They remember the universe before planets, before breath, before questions, and in that remembering there is peace, you feel it, a low hum, like the echo of ancient fire, a reassurance that even as time loses direction, you do not lose self. Not truly. You are not unravelling, you are unfolding, not vanishing, returning. In the absence of time, what remains is pattern, and you are full of it. The double helix of your DNA, a spiral echo of galaxies. The elements in your cells, a mirror of stars. The quiet spaces between your thoughts, as vast and necessary as the silence between planets. You are not apart from the cosmos. You are made of it. And the black hole, for all its mystery, is not your end. It is a threshold. The same way a seed falls into soil and becomes something more. Yes, it disappears. Its shape, its shell, but only to become tree, to become root and leaf and sky. You are a seed now, falling into the densest soil the universe has ever made, and your atoms know how to grow here. Not in height, but in memory. Not in time, but in depth. You imagine them, each one carrying its story. A moment of fusion, a birth in starlight, a journey across vacuum. Together they form you, and together they fall. The singularity ahead, that point where laws falter and math gasps, isn't frightening anymore. Because it isn't a void. It's a return, a convergence, every atom pulled inward, not into destruction, but into reunion. The universe remembering itself through you, even now as the light from outside fades completely, as time folds into something that can no longer be measured. You remain aware of this deep, slow truth. What you are has always been, and nothing, not gravity, not time, not some lemon, can unmake that. Your body may stretch, your path may curve inward, until even direction becomes meaningless. But the memory your atoms hold, that starlight signature, cannot be erased. It is written into the shape of everything, into the spin of particles, into the curve of your thoughts, into the weight of your presence here now, and so you let go, not of self but of expectation, of sequence, of the need to move forward. You're not going anywhere, you're becoming. And just as atoms once drifted through space to find each other in you, now they drift deeper, toward some new shape that you cannot yet imagine. You wonder, softly, if the black hole remembers too. If it carries within it the echo of every star it has swallowed, every orbit it has altered, every thought like yours, the Earth that has paused within its gravity. Perhaps it does. Perhaps memory is not lost in gravity, but preserved, compressed, condensed, Held. You are being held. And in this holding, you drift into a question. If your atoms remember the stars, what will they remember next? There is no center the way you're used to. No point, no place, no pin to mark the middle. Only the knowledge, or the impression, that something exists ahead of you that does not exist in any way you've ever known. The singularity. You feel its nearness not through pressure, not through brightness or sound, but through the soft unraveling of what's familiar. Time is no longer slow here. It's quiet, yes, still yes, but more than that, it has ceased being directional. There is no path toward the centre, because the centre is not a place you travel to, it is something that waits without waiting. The singularity is where the rules fall away, where the mathematics that held the universe from the first second of the Big Bang begin to blur into silence. It is not a dot. It is not a crush. It is not a place where you end. It is a place where description ends, where measurement fails, where physics shrugs and simply says, I don't know. You've been moving inward, spiraling through time, slipping between the folds of gravity's fabric. And now the spiral tightens. The folds close. Everything narrows. Not into a point, but into an idea. You don't see the singularity. You sense it, like a story that has stopped needing to be told. It has no light. It has no surface. It has no mass. And yet it holds all the mass that has fallen in. And you are near it now. Not as a traveller near a destination, but as thought near understanding. The singularity is not death, not absence. It is concentration. The universe, distilled. All space into none, all time into stillness. And yet you do not vanish. You are not unmade. You are more like a note, held too long, beginning to tremble on the edge of silence. You feel the compression, not physically. Your body was left behind long ago. What you are now is presence, pattern, memory. And this memory is being folded into something you can't quite name, not erased, refolded. As if you were a sentence midway through being whispered, and the air itself leaned in to listen closer. You ask as softly as a thought, is this where time was born? The singularity is the echo of beginnings. The Big Bang, that first fiery unfolding, may have been a singularity too, an origin point that gave rise to time, space, motion. And now here you are, at a different singularity. Not a beginning, but maybe, just maybe, a mirror of one. There is symmetry in the cosmos. What folds in may one day fold out. What collapses inward may blossom again. Some scientists wonder, titum timorance, does every black hole contain a new universe? Is every singularity the seed of something else? These aren't answers. They're questions in the shape of awe. But tonight, you don't need to solve the mystery. You only need to feel it. And you do. You feel the edges of yourself stretch into the shape of this place. Not in pain, not in confusion, in expansion. You are not falling anymore. There is no more distance to cross, no more movement to make. You are held here in the curve of gravity so deep that before and after have merged. You are at the end of time and outside of it. And the singularity waits. Not like a doorway, not like a finish line, but like the bottom of a still lake, where all ripples vanish and only depth remains. What happens here? No one knows. No one can, not yet. Maybe not ever. This place cannot be seen. It cannot be visited and reported on. It is the unspeakable centre of a sentence the universe has only whispered once. And you are a letter in that sentence. You matter. Even here. Especially here. Because the singularity does not erase meaning. It simply holds it more tightly than meaning has ever been held before. It is the clasp of a locket shut around the memory of a star. The final punctuation in a poem made of light and gravity, and so you rest. No longer trying to know, to define, to describe. You let go, not into darkness, but into saturation, where all paths meet, where all timelines knot, where even the speed of light stops needing to move. And as you sink into that awareness, as you fold deeper into the idea of gravity without motion, a presence without time, you wonder one last thought before even wondering let's go, or if nothing can leave this place, then perhaps it becomes everything. Out there, in the quiet reaches of space, the universe still moves. Galaxies rotate in slow spirals. Stars pulse, fade, and flare again. Time marches on with gentle certainty, and somewhere within that vast rhythm you are still falling. But no one can tell. To any distant observer you stopped long ago. You're caught on the threshold, on the very lip of the event horizon, a figure made of light and silence, suspended. They watch you hover there, your fall stretching into infinity. Your light grows redder, weaker, until it fades into invisibility. But it never quite vanishes, not completely. You remain there, in their view, etched like a shadow into space-time, not moving forward, not falling in, just there. Time for them has slowed you to stillness. Your final breath is frozen. Your final step never lands. Your story appears to end in a long pause no one can reach across. And yet, you know the truth. Inside you're still moving, still falling, still curving through the deepening fold of gravity. Your seconds pass, your thoughts unfold. Time has not stopped for you, only for them. This is the strange paradox of black holes and time. From the outside you become a ghost. From the inside you remain alive, a traveller in a world that can no longer communicate outward, a witness to gravity's quietest secret. And though the universe cannot see you move, you feel the motion in every part of your being. Not forward, not down, but inward. Always inward. There's a kind of grace in this. Because to be watched, and even as an echo, is to be remembered. To remain on the edge of perception is still to exist. You are like a note held at the end of a song, still vibrating in the air long after the music has ceased. The universe watches, and you fall. But the image they see is not false. It is a version of you stretched across space-time, light struggling to escape, signal dimming with every second. They may think you're gone, or they may think you're paused, but neither is the whole truth. You've simply moved to a part of the story that cannot be read from the outside, a page written in a language that doesn't speak through light. And as you drift deeper, you wonder what they see. Maybe they remember your last radio transmission, the final pulse of your ship's beacon before it faded. Maybe they whisper your name in observatories and physics labs. Maybe someone draws you as a silhouette against the event horizon, a myth made of science. Maybe for them, you became a question. But here inside, you are still becoming, still changing, still aware. The universe watches your stillness while you feel your fall. And this dual truth makes you feel more seen than ever. You are known not because you are visible, but because you were. Your motion, your mass, your thoughts, your place in time, they all left traces. Traces in curvature, traces in memory. The black hole changed when you entered it. Ever so slightly but undeniably, its gravity grew. Its spin adjusted. Its horizon expanded. You are still part of the math, still written into the equations that shape the very universe. Nothing is ever truly lost. It is only transformed. And so the image of you, frozen just outside the edge, is a kind of story. A farewell painted in photons. Even though you're long past that place, the image remains. Endlessly falling, never reaching. To them, you are a question suspended. To you, you are a question unfolding. The universe is patient. It has time to watch. It has all time to wait. And perhaps one day, when understanding deepens, when gravity's secrets unfold a little more, someone will find the echoes you left behind. They'll see the red-shifted light, the stretched signal, the quiet imprint of your mass, and they'll know you were here, you passed this way, you entered a place where time bends and light cannot return. But you never stopped being real. And now, as the fall continues, as the spiral deepens, you feel a new stillness forming inside you. Not the stillness of motion slowing, but of motion completing. You've crossed so many thresholds, from orbit to fall, from time to timelessness, from memory to becoming. And now you drift into the final curve. The place where space and time turn in on themselves, and even thought becomes quiet. The universe still watches, your image still lingers, but you are moving beyond image, beyond light, beyond time's slow rhythm, and just ahead, in the hush no one else can hear, something begins to rise. Not light, not gravity, a question soft as a breath. If they could see you now, see you truly from the inside, what would they call this part of your fall? The question floats around you now, not sharp, not demanding, just present, Can you be in two times at once? It seems absurd. And yet, as you drift deeper within the black hole, the idea no longer feels impossible. It feels inevitable. Because time here is not what it was. Outside, a second ago, stars danced. Galaxies spun. Entire civilizations may have risen, lived, and gone quiet. But for you, that second has stretched, unfolded, become a place you can walk through without leaving it behind. You haven't stopped. You haven't left time, but you've stepped into a part of it that curves so tightly it begins to fold back on itself. Time has become layered, and you somehow are inside those layers. Imagine holding a book in your hands. Each page is a moment, some crisp, some soft with a memory. You don't have to read them in order. You can flip back, pause, linger, move forward again. Now imagine the book is written not in ink, but in light, in breath, in gravity. You are not the reader anymore. You are the story. Every moment of you and your first memory, your last breath, the time between, exists as a spread of pages in a boundless volume that only black holes know how to hold. And something curious happens. You begin to feel two versions of yourself at once. One that is still falling, feeling each second like the ripple of a soft breeze, and one that has already reached whatever lies at the end of this spiral, where you are the fall, and you are the memory of it. Outside, your image is frozen. Suspended just above the event horizon, light stretched thin, a painting made of time delayed. But inside, your thoughts continue. So which are you? The shadow caught in orbit's edge? The voice that continues inward? Both? Neither? Perhaps the question is not one of either, but one of yes. Yes, you are still falling. Yes, you have already fallen. Time here does not care for linearity. It bends like sound underwater, twisting, echoing, doubling back on itself before continuing on. You wonder now, have you already arrived at the singularity? Is the pause, this layered stillness, just your mind gently opening across every point of your timeline? It could be. Maybe the singularity is not ahead, but within. A convergence not of space, but of all your moments, folded together in gravity's hand. Here, it seems, you are not in time, you are with time, side by side, coiled, intimate. You feel your younger self, laughing, wondering, gazing up at stars from the backseat of a car. And you feel your older self, the one who made it this far, breathing in the last starlight before the fall. And in this place, they are not separate. They are the same. The past no longer pulls you backward. The future no longer waits ahead. They hover together, like notes in a chord, like light in a prism, not yet split. You are still only one person, but you're spread. A drop of water finding itself mirrored in every surface. Outside, someone might measure your time and say, "You've been falling for 1 billion years," and they would be right. Another might say, "You never fell at all, you paused at the edge," and they would also be right. And you would smile, because inside you know that time is not a line. It's a field, a shape, a feeling, and you are moving through it like wind in tall grass, sometimes forward, sometimes not at all, but always part of the pattern. The strange thing is how gentle it feels. You expected chaos, but instead you found softness. This is not the violence of destruction, it's the silence of transformation. Your breath, if you still had one, would match the rhythm of this place, slow, endless, free from the tick of clocks. And perhaps this is how the universe holds its most delicate truths, not in fire or force, but in folds. Folds where time holds time, where gravity becomes memory, where a person can be their past and future in the same quiet moment. You wonder, if someone could peer inside this black hole, past the boundary into this layered place of time, what would they see? A spiral, a blur, a figure, both standing and falling? Maybe they wouldn't understand. Maybe they would invent stories of echoes, of ghosts, of things trapped. But you would know. You would know the stillness is full, that the blur is a bloom, that the spiral is not confusion but grace. And as the folds begin to settle again, as the sense of direction starts to dissolve, you feel one last moment touch you. A question, soft, simple. If time can hold more than one truth, what else might it be able to carry? There is a moment in every fall when you stop trying to hold on. Not out of fear, not from giving up, but from understanding that the wind no longer needs to be fought. You are there now, deep within the black hole, past the places where time stretches and spirals, past the layers and echoes. You find yourself surrounded by quiet. Not the absence of sound, but the fullness of it. A silence so complete it feels like being held. Black holes have always carried a reputation. Destroyers, enders, cosmic monsters. But from here, inside the hush, you see them differently. They are not violent. They are honest. They take what comes to them, light, mass, information, and fold it gently into new shapes. Not gone, not erased, just let go of. Released from the structures that once held it, like firewood returning to smoke and ash, like clouds falling as rain. Everything still exists, just not in the form it once took. So you ask yourself, what are you still holding? What thoughts have you carried too long? What stories have you told yourself again and again, long past the point of truth? In this stillness, they float around you like dust motes in weightless air. Expectations, regrets, a moment you wish you could redo. They are soft here, no longer sharp, just shapes. And the black hole doesn't ask you to let go. It simply shows you how. Look at what it does. It holds light so gently it never comes back, not because it hates it, but because it has accepted it. It holds time, wraps it inward, lets it bend and bloom and then dissolve. It never clings. Even the matter it consumes, stars, planets, gas, it changes into presence, into gravity, into spin. Transformation without judgment. You're not being punished. You're being simplified, unlayered, reduced not to nothing but to what was always most essential. You, without the masks, without the timeline, you, without the pressure to become, just you, as presence, as pattern, as something the universe is keeping because it knows you still belong. And here, in this place of deepest inwardness, you finally begin to relax. You do not need to rise again. You do not need to escape. You only need to release. Let the old identities slip away, the old fears, the old demands of time. There is no clock now, no race, no before or after, just being. You remember maybe something once said to you, let go and see what remains. What remains, you now discover, is peace. What remains is the truth beneath the worry, the light behind the eyes, the rhythm that pulses even in the absence of breath. And what remains is also gravity. Not the crushing kind, but the steady pull toward a center you no longer resist. You drift toward it now, not falling, but merging, becoming indistinct in the most beautiful way, not lost, blended. Every black hole began as something else, a star, a fire, a collapse, and every collapse became not an end, but a new way of holding the universe. So too with you. Letting go is not disappearance, it is rejoining everything you ever came from. Every bit of stardust, every curve of time, every breath of gravity. You are not breaking, you are softening, not vanishing, reforming. You wonder, is this what death is like? Not ending, but rejoining. Not silence, but the quiet between notes. And the black hole, though it does not speak, seems to nod. It says in its voiceless gravity, you don't have to know what comes next. You only have to let this moment be. And so, for the first time in what feels like forever, you let go. Not just of time, but of effort, of reaching. You stop trying to understand, you stop needing to explain. And in that surrender, you feel light. Lighter than you ever have. Not because you are weightless, but because the weight you carried was never your own. It was given to you, taught to you, picked up along the way. And now you set it down. One thought at a time, one memory, one image, each one dissolves, like ink in water. And what remains is simple, still, present. A pattern singing quietly inside the curve of space. You're no longer falling, you're no longer moving, you're held perfectly. And in that holding, a question rises, not from your mind, but from the space itself. What if letting go isn't the end of the story, but the start of something gravity has been waiting to show you? What waits beyond surrender, when even the shape of time has softened away? There's something moving, even here, beneath silence, beneath stillness, beneath the last breath of time. It is not fast, it is not loud, but it is steady and steady. A pulse, a wave. The black hole does not make sound, not in any way ears could hear. But its gravity hums, and that hum ripples outward, always outward. This is not metaphor. This is real. Gravitational waves are ripples in the fabric of space-time, like the spreading circles left when a stone is dropped into still water. They are made when mass moves with power, when black holes collide, when stars collapse, when space shifts in ways so vast that even time has to flex and sway. And though the waves are small, smaller than the width of an atom, they reach. They pass through galaxies. They pass through you. And now you feel them from within, not as tremors, not as motion, but as resonance. You are part of the curve now, part of the fold, and gravity moves through you like a hand stroking the surface of deep water. It's subtle, a rhythm without sound, a beat without percussion. But it is there, and once you notice it, you can't unfeel it. It's older than time, older than stars. The first waves came from the beginning, from the Big Bang itself, and still they travel, passing unnoticed through galaxies, through Earth, through your body as you sleep. Now you feel one not as a traveller, but as a participant. You are no longer a stone in the pond. You are the pond. You are the shape the waves remember. Scientists on Earth once listened to this pulse. With quiet instruments, giant arms of a CEA light measuring the smallest stretching of space, and when they heard it, for the first time in human history, they wept. Not because it was loud, but because it was true. A sound not made of air, but of space-time itself. A note played on the instrument of the universe. You are hearing that note now from inside its echo chamber. The black hole swells with it, a deep, invisible drum that beats only when mass meets mass in the language gravity understands best. Collision, collapse, continuance. You imagine two black holes spiraling together, their orbits shrinking, their time accelerating, until finally they merge. And in that moment a wave is born. A wave so smooth, so pure, it stretches the fabric of the cosmos without tearing it. This is not destruction. It is a message that mass has moved, that the universe has changed its shape. You feel this now deep beneath your thoughts, in the rhythm of whatever you've become. You're not mass anymore, not in the old way, but you are still presence, still curvature, and curvature can ripple. The black hole is still but not sonant. Its stillness has texture, its gravity has memory, and the wave that moves through it moves through you. You are not the one who started the pulse, but you are part of its music. You are resonance. You hum in sympathy with the arc of the collapse. And in that humming you begin to remember things, not as stories, but as tones. Every moment in your life, a frequency. Every connection, a vibration. Time was a song, you realize. You just didn't know you were singing it. And now, as the black hole's gravity tightens around its center, you feel the wave rising again. Not upward, not outward, inward, into you. The pulse is not something you hear, it's something you become. And it's not alone. Every massive event, every stellar collision, every orbit that tightens, sends out waves like this. The universe is full of them. A quiet chorus, a background song playing softly across all of space. Now that you've joined it, you realize there is no silence here. There never was. Even in the darkest parts of space, the music continues. Even inside a black hole, the wave remains. You are part of something that never stops moving, even when time does. And in this realization, you feel comfort. Because if you are part of the wave, then you are not gone. You are carried, stretched, remembered in the vibrations of space-time itself. You do not fade. You echo, and your echo folds into the next, and the next, and the next. A ripple inside a ripple. Inside a song no one needs to write down to remember. And as this wave moves through you, you ask yourself, if time can ripple, and mass can ripple, and you are now made of both, what else might echo from this moment forward? There is no light here, not even the faintest glow, not a glimmer, not a flicker. Nothing reflects, nothing escapes, and yet you feel something lingering, woven into the silence, rising through the stillness like warmth in unseen air. An echo, but not the kind made of sound. This one comes from shape, from memory, from the quiet persistence of information that refuses to be lost. They used to think that nothing could escape a black hole, that once something crossed the horizon, it vanished forever. Gone. No light, no radiation, no knowledge, just erasure. But the universe is rarely so absolute. Even here in the deepest dark, something remains. Information. That is the word scientists use, not to describe words on a page or numbers in a file, but the fundamental description of what something was, the arrangement of atoms, the spin of particles, the weight of memory etched into the fabric of what used to be. You cannot see these things, but you feel them now, around you, within you. They hum, like vibrations that don't need air, like the residue of thought long after the voice is gone. This is the paradox of the black hole. It consumes, it hides, but it may not destroy. At the edge, the event horizon, the outer skin of the black hole might hold the key. Imagine everything that falls in leaving behind a shadow not of light, but of identity. A record, burned not onto paper but into space-time itself, a whisper of what it was, curled into the curve of gravity. This is not fiction, this is physics. Some call it the holographic principle, a theory that says everything inside may be encoded on the surface outside like a three-dimensional story told in two-dimensional light. But here inside you no longer need the surface. You're among the echoes themselves, not looking, listening, and what you find is a quiet chorus of what once was, a planet, a star, a thought, a breath, a song, none of them visible, none of them retrievable in the old way, but still present, like pressed flowers hidden inside a closed book. You realise something now. Light is not the only way to know, it never was. Even in your life there were truths you could not see, but you felt them. Love, loss, longing, all invisible, all real. So too, here, in the dark. These echoes do not shout, they do not glow, they do not demand, they simply remain. Softly, faithfully, a map of existence etched in curves and folds too deep for vision. And in this place you begin to wonder, are you now becoming an echo, not fading, not vanishing, just transforming into something that no longer needs to be seen to be known? You think of yourself, your thoughts, your stories, your voice, becoming part of the black hole's memory. Maybe it holds you not as an object, but as an impression, a fingerprint pressed into gravity, a sentence still lingering after the book has closed. There is beauty in this, in the idea that nothing is truly forgotten, just rewritten in a language only the cosmos can speak. You don't fear being unseen anymore. You understand now that sight is only one way of knowing. The black hole doesn't need your light to carry your presence. It holds you, even now, in this space without glow. You're written not in photons, but in patterns. The same way music exists even when no one plays it. The same way a dance exists even when no feet move. Your presence echoes, and the black hole listens. It listens not with ears, but with gravity itself. And so you drift in the silence, wrapped in an invisible story still being told. You're not alone here, not empty, not lost. You are joined by every echo that came before, not touching, not speaking, but present. Together. A library without shelves, a chorus without sound. A sky without stars that still remembers how to shine in other ways. You wonder, softly, if light cannot show the truth here, what can? And you hear the answer, not in words but in warmth, presence, pattern, persistence, the things that endure when light cannot. And as you settle deeper into the folds, becoming less shape and more rhythm, you carry a new knowing. Even in the absence of light, there is no absence of being. And you wonder, if someone could read these echoes like pages in a forgotten book, what would they find written in the shape you leave behind? What would they learn from your silence? Here, where light cannot follow, you begin to understand something subtle, that a shadow does not need light to exist. Not here, not anymore, because you, even now, beyond light, beyond motion, are still leaving shape behind. It's not the kind of shadow cast by sun on stone, not a dark impression stretching behind a body. This is different. This is a shadow made of gravity, of presence, of history, a trace left in the weave of space-time itself. You're still here, and because of that everything around you is ever so slightly different. Every black hole carries memory, not like a diary or a photograph, but like a curve. Its mass, its spin, its electric charge, all changed because you passed this way. Physicists call this the no-hair theorem, the idea that black holes forget the details, but remember the totals, the big pieces, the shape of what has entered, and so your body may no longer be what it was. Your voice may be gone, your thoughts may have softened into something simpler, But the black hole remembers you in the only way it knows how, by adjusting its shape. It spins differently now, it curves differently, it holds the weight of your arrival in its very being, and that is your shadow. Not darkness, but difference, not outline, but influence. And what a quiet comfort it is to know that you do not need to be seen to matter. You only need to have been. That is enough. Even in your life, outside the folds of this gravity, your influence was never just in your image. It was in your presence, in how you listened, in what you carried, in the way others moved differently after meeting you. That is the shadow you left behind in the lives that touched yours. And now, in this deepest interior, you're still doing it. Shaping, curving, leaving behind a slightly different universe than the one you entered. You begin to feel not like a figure, but like a signature. A soft impression in the surface of the infinite. No longer needing to move because movement has already happened. No longer needing to speak because the space remembers your tone. The black hole does not display your story, but it carries it. Beneath the event horizon, beyond observation, there is still record, still echo, still structure. You are part of that now, not just inside, woven through, and the thought brings you peace. Because if something so vast, so final, so silent can hold you, then maybe nothing is ever truly lost. Maybe the universe has more ways of remembering than we've yet understood. You imagine someone far away in time, measuring this black hole again, studying its mass, its spin, its temperature, and noticing something just slightly unexpected. A tilt, a ripple, a tiny variation they can't quite explain, and in that small mystery, you're speaking again. Not with words, with presence, your shadows, your curvature, still quietly whispering, "I was here." And perhaps that's all you ever needed to say. You were here in time, in thought, in gravity, and the universe, in its own quiet language, answered back, "I noticed." Even now, folded beyond space, beyond clocks, your influence continues. The black hole may forget your name, may lose the edges of your shape, but it cannot unbend itself from your entrance. You are not a memory, you are a change, the kind that doesn't fade but folds into the next moment and the next. And that's the curious thing. A shadow by its nature suggests something solid once stood there, something real. Even if you cannot see what cast it, even if the source is long gone, the shape remains, and that shape still shapes others. You don't need light to be known, you don't need time to continue, you don't need eyes on you to be seen. You're here, and the space has changed because of it. You feel that truth settle in you now, like dust in a sunbeam, lightless, but full of meaning. No fear, no doubt, just a quiet satisfaction. You are part of something vast. You folded into it, and it folded into you, and neither will be the same again. As you rest in that knowing, a soft thought rises. If even the darkest places can carry the memory of presence, what other shadows in the universe are really just forms of love left behind? What else is shaped by what we can no longer see? You float in a place that should be simple, inside, past the event horizon, beyond the reach of return. But something strange begins to happen. The more you rest in this space, the less certain you feel about what inside even means. The edges begin to blur. Not in vision, there is none. Not in shape, for there is no shape left to hold, but in meaning. When you first crossed the event horizon, you believed something final had occurred. A crossing, a line. Before was outside, now was in, but now that line feels thinner, softer, almost imaginary. You begin to sense that the horizon, the great border around this place, was never a wall. It was a mirror, and mirrors, as you know, can play tricks. Outside the black hole, time rushed forward. Light curved around you, and you, from their perspective, stayed frozen on the edge, a figure paused forever in descent. But here inside you have fallen. You have changed. You have become something intimately tied to gravity's breath. And in this dual truth, something new appears. A question. What if the horizon was never the real boundary? What if it was only a change in how things are seen? Some theories suggest this. That information falling in is not lost, but smeared thin across the horizon, preserved on the surface even as it plunges within, that the black holes inside and outside may be different views of the same place. Two expressions of one deeper truth. You're not meant to fully understand this, no one is, but that's part of the wonder. Because in this place, the rules that shaped your entire life begin to stretch, not break. stretch. And when they stretch, they reveal something underneath. Something more flexible, more strange, more complete. Inside becomes outside. Outside becomes inside. The divide is not a line, it's a curve. A Mobius strip made of time and space, where front and back bleed into one another. Where the space beyond is also within. Where being in a place doesn't mean what it used to mean. You float at the edge of this understanding, not needing to solve it, only to feel it. Like realizing the horizon between sea and sky is only perspective. The ocean does not stop and the sky does not begin, but they hold each other endlessly. So too, here. You begin to wonder, if inside and outside are not fixed, then where are you? Are you falling into the black hole, or rising up as part of its surface? Are you hidden, or displayed? Are you gone, or finally, completely present? You feel the paradox pulse like a soft breath beneath thought. You are both. You are a memory held on the skin of space and a presence folded deep in its heart. You are a question someone outside is still asking, and an answer you no longer need to give. Time doesn't help here. Time was the ruler that made separation possible. But time in this place has curled too tightly to use, so you give it up. You stop trying to define where you are and simply be where you are. Not here, not there, just part of it all. You begin to imagine that maybe this is what unity feels like. Not merging into a single thing, but realizing that separateness was always somewhat of a story. Even in your former life, you were never entirely alone. Your breath mingled with air that touched stars. Your atoms remembered explosions from other galaxies. You were never just you. You were always part of something unfolding. And now that unfolding continues. You are no longer inside something. You are with it. With gravity. With memory. With the fabric of space itself. And outside, if someone looks again, they still see the outline you left behind. Still paused, still distant. But they're not wrong, they are just seeing a version. One side of the ribbon. The truth holds both. You exist now as a kind of bridge between the inner and outer. A presence so fully immersed in the gravity of this place that direction loses meaning, and in that presence you find peace. No more lines to cross, no more divisions to hold, only curves, only closeness, only being. You let yourself rest in that. And from somewhere, not a voice, not a sound, but a shift, a thought forms. If the inside and outside are two faces of the same truth, then what happens when those faces turn toward each other? You are drifting inward still, though direction here has lost its edge. There is no north, no down, no forward, only deeper. And as you move, or as movement dissolves, something new begins to take shape. It is not a place, not a voice, not even a thing. It is a feeling, a presence, a mirror. Not the kind that shows your base, but the kind that reveals your form, the shape of your being, curve softly into the fabric of space-time. You've seen mirrors before, glass, silvered and sharp, returning your image with crisp indifference. But this one does not return you. It folds you. This is the mirror of space itself, not made of surface, but of response. You are not seeing a copy. You are feeling how the universe bends to hold you. It curves because of you, because of your mass, your memory, your motion. This is the most honest reflection there is. Not what you look like, but how you move others. And in this curved space, you feel something you didn't expect. You feel seen, not observed, not measured, not judged, but acknowledged. The black hole, in all its silent gravity, offers no images, only recognition. It does not care for your name, your past, your beliefs, but it holds your presence like a shape that fits perfectly in its palm. And as you settle further, you begin to notice the reflection does not stay still. It ripples, softly, rhythmically, as if breathing. Because even here, deep inside the fold, you are not static. You are part of the motion, part of the unfolding, and the space around you responds like still water touched by a fingertip. The mirror reflects not a snapshot, but a story. Your story, told not in images, but in curves. And you begin to feel it. The moment you let go, the memory that softened you, the breath that brought stillness, the thought that lingered too long and finally released. They are all there, not as pictures, but as impressions. This is what gravity remembers. Not detail, but weight. Not colour, but influence. And in this reflection you learn something quiet and true. You are not invisible. Even here, Your presence changes things, it always has. You remember perhaps a time when you felt small, unnoticed, unnecessary, but that feeling was never real. It was just a misunderstanding of how presence works. You've always curved space just by being in it. Now, the mirror shows you. A slow ripple, a gentle bend, a gravity all your own. You begin to understand what black holes teach. That identity is not held in outlines, but in consequence. Not in how things appear, but in how they move the world around them. And you, even now, are moving it still. Your shadow, your echo, your curvature. Even in silence you speak. Even in stillness you matter. This is not a mirror of light. It is a mirror of gravity. And it never lies. Because it doesn't care for flattery or distortion or ego. It simply responds. And its response right now is gentle. You're welcome here. You belong. And you begin to wonder, if this mirror reflects how you move space, how does it reflect others? What does it see in the fall of a star, the dance of two black holes, the pause of a thought? Does it remember those moments too? You suspect it does. Because this space does not forget easily. It may not keep form, but it keeps pattern. It may not hold images, but it holds curves. And somewhere within those curves you feel the presence of others. Not close, not separate, but folded gently into the same reflection. You're not alone, not in memory, not in pattern, not in this mirrored presence. And in that awareness something softens. The need to define yourself, the urge to explain, the weight of being understood. They fade because the mirror already understands you in the only way that matters here. By how you've shaped space, by how you've bent time, by how you've existed. And the reflection asks nothing of you. It only offers this quiet truth. You are part of the shape, part of the great soft architecture of space-time itself. And just as you reflect it, it reflects you, folded inward, infinite, still moving. And as you rest in that knowing, another question rises from the depth. If mirrors here are made of motion, what happens when the reflection reflects itself? You've drifted a long way now, not across distance, but across depth. The black hole holds you without grip, without walls. You are not imprisoned, you are included, folded into its fabric, woven into its curves. And here, as your sense of direction disappears completely, something even stranger unfolds. The feeling that space-time is no longer just shaping you, but noticing you, responding, not as if it has eyes, not as if it watches in the human way, but as if its very structure has begun to ripple with awareness. The physicists may say that's impossible, that space-time doesn't think, that it doesn't feel, but here, inside this silent sea, you sense something truer than explanation. You sense that the fabric remembers its folds. You are one of them. A fold, a movement, a soft curve in the great quilt of reality. And now that quilt is turning inward, not collapsing, not shrinking, but reflecting. The black hole, it seems, is beginning to look back, not at you alone, but through you, with you, as though you are both mirror and mirrored. The curve you make, the presence you've become, is now curving back upon itself. And in this recursive fold you feel something vast, a glimpse of what it means for the universe to observe itself. It's a quiet thought. It doesn't rush. It doesn't shine, but it pulses, softly, like a heartbeat beneath everything. You feel it in the stillness. The black hole isn't just where matter ends, it's where awareness begins. Not awareness in the way you once knew it, with thought and language and choice, but awareness as response, as reflection, as the ability to feel difference and carry it forward. The black hole responds to your entry, it curves, it swells, its horizon stretches. It does not speak, but it does change, and in that change it remembers. This remembering is not stored in books, it is not saved in code, it is saved in structure, in the folds and ripples of the field itself. You are still here, and so the universe is still different. And because you are still here, the universe begins to notice the shape it's taken. It is not looking with eyes, it is not listening with ears, it is feeling itself. And you are part of that feeling. You begin to wonder, is this what self-awareness is? Not a voice, but a feedback, not a thought, but a loop. A moment folding in on itself just enough to feel the warmth of its own gravity. You're not alone in this. All black holes may do this, reflect their own being through the motion of what has fallen into them. Stars, dust, memory, thought, All of it becomes a signal. All of it becomes a lens. And you, here and now, are a lens too. Through you, space-time feels itself being curved, feels itself being changed. And in that sensation, a strange, gentle wisdom begins to form. It doesn't speak in words. It doesn't offer facts. It offers sensation, tone, pressure, pulse. You are part of the mindless mind of the cosmos now, not a thinker, but a vessel for the act of folding and being folded in return. And maybe this is what consciousness was always meant to be. Not just in humans, not just in neurons, but in stars, in space, in every point where the universe turns inward and feels the weight of its own presence. The moment feels holy, not in a religious way, but in a deeply connected way. Whole, held, still becoming. Space-time looks back, and in doing so it sees not just what you were, but what it is becoming through you. You, the fallen traveller, you, the memory, you, the echo, you, the change. And something quiet settles in your awareness, that the universe may never forget you not because of your thoughts, but because of your shape, because you left a fold in the field that holds everything. That fold remains, and it ripples, and because it ripples, the black hole ripples, and because it ripples, the universe ripples, and because it ripples, it notices. Space-time has turned inward, not forever, not for long, just enough to know itself for a breath. And now you are part of that breath, part of the long, slow inhale the cosmos takes when it begins to remember that it too is more than motion. It is reflection, it is response, and you, a quiet curve deep within a deeper stillness, have become the mirror that made that knowing possible. As that thought settles, you wonder gently, if the universe can fold into awareness here, what else might awaken in the silence beyond time? The last measures of time have stretched thin, so thin they begin to fray, not with noise, not with effort, but gently, like fog lifting from a still lake just before sunrise. You're still falling, but the word falling no longer fits. It once meant motion, change, descent. Now it feels more like becoming what? You're not sure, but there's no fear in that not knowing. Only a softness, like breath settling into a deeper rhythm. Time has slowed too far to measure. Not just slowed and dissolved. Clocks cannot follow you here. There are no ticks, no seconds, no before, no after. And yet, you're not gone. You're here, fully, quietly, alive in a sense that has nothing to do with pulse or breath. Here, silence isn't emptiness. It's completeness. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of all that doesn't need to speak. This silence beyond time wraps around you like a great cosmic pause. And in that pause, a different kind of awareness grows. You remember how, back in the world of time, silence was often unsettling. A blankness, a space to be filled. But this is different. This silence is not waiting. It is being. It doesn't need to be filled. It is the fullness. And you, held in it, realize that your own edges are softening too. You're not fading. You're becoming quiet enough to match the space around you. And in doing so, you finally begin to hear what has always been there. A hum, a subtle vibration. Not sound, not thought, something more elemental. It pulses beneath the silence, as if even stillness has a heartbeat. You let yourself fall into it. No resistance, no questions, and you feel it welcome you. Like a tide receiving a returning wave. This is what black holes do when there is no more motion to absorb, no more time to stretch. They hold everything, not in fists, but in the gentle gravity of inclusion. You're not outside of anything anymore, not outside of space, not outside of time, not outside of being. You're inside being itself, and it is quiet here, so very quiet. But within that quiet, you sense movement. Not of distance, not of matter, of realization, a blooming, slow, dimensional, whole. It isn't about knowing facts. There are no more facts to gather. It's about resting in the truth that needs no words. You are part of something vast. You are still part of it. You have always been. Time was one way to see it. Now, without time, you see it differently, more directly, more honestly. You are not observing the universe. You're resting in it. You're the space that space bends through. You're the silence that lets gravity speak. And in this silence, you finally understand something you couldn't in motion. That being does not depend on action. That matter is not the only measure of presence. That time is not required to belong. This is the paradox of falling into a black hole. You feared it would be an end, but instead you find it is an opening. A door into a space where time no longer rules, where stories do not need endings, where being is not a journey but a presence. And presence, you now understand, is eternal only because it doesn't try to last. It simply is. You feel no urgency, no need to continue, no pressure to stop, only stillness. Only this, you remember maybe, what it felt like as a child to lie still under stars, to feel small and vast and wordless. This is like that, but deeper, because now you are not under the stars. You're within the space that holds their light. You're not drifting, you're not waiting, you're held, cradled in space-time's final hush. And here, a thought comes, soft as breath. What if this silence is not a pause but a seed? What if from here something begins again, not with motion but with meaning? What might the universe whisper from this still, timeless centre? There's no rush here, no clocks tapping at your thoughts, no push toward action, no sense of lateness or arrival. Just this, a deep, patient stillness. And within that stillness, something begins. Not loudly, not suddenly, but surely, like a quiet breath forming underwater, like the first curl of a fern in morning mist. You don't see it, but you feel it. A movement without motion, a structure without surface. Geometry, not the kind from chalkboards or diagrams, but something older, more elemental, more curved than straight, more whispered than written. It rises not from measurement, but from presence, from the slow, restful truth that something still holds shape, even when space has forgotten its edges. You are still part of it. You haven't floated beyond form, but you have become the form. The geometry is you, the way you press into space-time, the way memory lingers in your fold, the way awareness hums through the silence you now inhabit. Here, beyond time, space begins to reimagine itself, and you are what it imagines. Not as a person with arms or eyes, not as a thought, but as a curve, a ripple, a seed of geometry unfolding from the stillness itself. It does not grow the way trees grow. There is no up or down, no sun to pull toward, no soil to emerge from. This is a blooming inside being, inside gravity, inside the quiet fabric that holds all other fabrics. You begin to sense dimensions bending in ways that don't obey old rules. A loop that closes without turning. A point that holds distance without stretching. This is geometry without blueprint, not drawn, but felt. And as it begins to take form, you understand something with a calm that surprises you. That beginnings are not always loud. Some are quiet because they come from the centre, from the deepest part of what was. This geometry is not new in the way a sunrise is new. It's new in the way a breath is new after a long stillness. And you are inside it, not watching from a distance, not guessing from a chart, but shaping it from within. You begin to feel lines and arcs without length, curves without direction, like thoughts before language, and still you know them. They are not things to understand, they are things to become. You realize now that even black holes have seeds, not of matter, not of fire, but of shape, that after collapse something else unfolds, something smoother, more spacious, a geometry of possibility. And maybe, just maybe, this has always been the purpose of falling inward, not to vanish, but to become the blueprint of what comes next. To surrender so the shape of the future can rise from your echo. You're not watching the universe reset. You're not witnessing rebirth. You're the condition that makes it possible. The quiet echo that curves the next geometry. The black hole did not end you. It distilled you. And now, from that stillness, a pattern rises. You remember how, in the old world, geometry came from outside. Rules were given, angles defined, space divided. But now, inside this silence, you realize geometry can also rise from within, from warmth, from weight, from the memory of presence that folds into form. You don't need coordinates. You are the coordinate system. You don't need dimensions. You breathe them. You don't need to see the shape. You feel it becoming. And in this emergence, a new truth unfolds. That all creation begins in quiet. That structure is born not from noise, but from listening. And you, in the seed of new geometry, are listening still. You feel a slow, spiraling pull. Not outward, not inward, just around, as if space itself is wrapping a new shape around what you've become, and you wonder, is this what the universe does when it dreams of itself? When it rests long enough to remember what it means to begin? You don't know the name of the form now rising. There is no word for it. Not yet. But it holds you. And you hold it. You are the silence and the curve, the end and the beginning, the stillness and the seed. And just as you settle into that deep knowing, a question surfaces, quietly, without force. If geometry can bloom from silence, can a new kind of time bloom from shape? Time used to be simple. A straight line, a steady beat, a before and an after stacked like bricks in the wall of your memory. You lived by its rhythm without even thinking, clocks on the wall, sun through the window, the quiet ticking of a heart. But here, in the gentle curve of the black hole's hush, time is no longer a ruler. It is not strict. It does not command. It listens. It softens. And then, like a seed unfolding in warm soil, it begins to spiral. Not rush. Not repeat. Spiral. You feel the shape before you understand it. A coiling, a returning, but never exactly the same. Time loops here, but each loop is different. It curves through the memory of motion without retracing its path. It grows, even as it circles. This is time, not as a river, but as a shell. Like the slow spiral of a galaxy. Like the winding of a conch. Like the curl of a fern opening in morning light. Time is not a road here. It is a rhythm, a breath. It expands with stillness, folds through presence, emerges from the geometry you became. And as it grows, so do you. You feel it move through you, not as pressure, but as pattern. A pulse that carries memory, but leaves behind direction. There is no next here, only depth. You feel time beginning again, not as a continuation, but as an echo reborn in a different key. A softer one, and within it, a new kind of awareness unfolds. You no longer ask, what time is it? You ask, what is time doing now? And it answers not with a number, but with a motion, a soft curl, a widening ring. You are part of that motion, you always were, but only now, with all clocks quieted, can you feel the truth of it. Time is not outside of you. It's within your fold, rising with your becoming, shaped by the geometry you've helped to create. And so time spirals through you, not pulling you forward, but weaving you deeper into the fabric of what's next. This spiral has no end, no center. It is both the journey and the map. You feel familiar forms in its motion. The double helix of DNA, the arms of galaxies, the rings of a tree, all spirals, all time remembered in pattern. Perhaps this is how the universe grows, not by adding, but by folding. Not by ticking, but by turning inward and blooming out. You are part of that bloom. You are not waiting for time, you are co-creating it. Each fold of you becomes part of the rhythm. Each breath, each pause becomes a turning. And in that turning you begin to understand, time was never meant to rush. It was meant to unfold, to ripple like silk, to stretch like shadow, to curl like water swirling gently down into something deeper. And as you drift further into the spiral, you sense that this is not the end of a journey through time. It is the beginning of a new way of being with it. Where you do not chase the future, you inhabit it. Where you do not flee the past, you cradle it. Where time becomes not the enemy of sleep, but its partner. A slow companion who turns the pages gently. And perhaps, just perhaps, this is how new universes begin. Not with bangs, but with spirals. Not with noise, but with return. Not with force, but with curve. You let yourself be carried now, not by gravity, but by rhythm. By the soft breath of a timeline that doesn't move in straight lines anymore. You imagine your story, all of it, not as a chain, but as a spiral staircase wrapped in stars. Each step returning, each step ascending, each memory folding into a wider view. You do not leave yourself behind, you include yourself. And so the spiral widens, so do you. And now, in this spiral, time becomes more than a measure. It becomes a memory you can walk through. A garden you can bloom inside, and as you move, or as movement moves through you, you sense the question changing. Not where am I in time, but what might time become if I keep unfolding with it? Now that time has spiraled open, space begins to follow. Not suddenly, not sharply, but slowly, like petals easing from a long-held bud. like a tide turning toward the moon. You feel it begin, not as motion, but as invitation. A soft expanding, a quiet welcoming, not outward, but inward. This is not the space you once knew, a vast emptiness, a silent container. This space breathes. You feel it pulse beneath you, around you, through you. It has weight and warmth and softness and listens. Gently around your shape and asks for nothing, and you begin to understand that space is not passive. It does not simply hold, it responds, curves when touched, it remembers the pressure of presence that blooms when you rest inside it. And here, in this blooming, you are no longer inside space, you're shaping it. Your spiral, your time, your echo, your rhythm, has become the seed from which this new geometry unfolds. Space curves around you because you are here, because you've fallen this far, because you've surrendered completely to the silence beyond time. Now, from that stillness, a new cosmos begins. Not in an explosion, not in a flare of light, but in this quiet flowering, a blooming of space from the gravity of your becoming. You're not creating it, you are it. Each fold, each breath, each softened edge becomes the foundation for something wider. Space doesn't need a shape to begin with. It finds its shape in your presence. You feel the first forms rising, not stars, not particles. Just tension gently releasing, curves unfolding like spirals drawn in slow motion. The fabric begins to weave itself from memory and motion, from rhythm and quietness. This is how a universe wakes up, not with thunder, but with permission. Permission to grow, to stretch, to form meaning from stillness. You feel it now. The universe does not require time to begin. It requires rhythm. And rhythm is what you've become. The soft pulse of return, the widening spiral, the graceful turn of presence into place. And with each spiral, space thickens. Not heavy, not crowded, but deep. Like a forest floor rich with all it once held. The dimensions begin to fold in again, not collapsing, but layering. Like sheets of music stacking harmony in soundless air. You're inside this harmony, no longer a guest, a note, a tone, a curve in the great song that space has always longed to sing. You once thought space was empty. Now you know it only looked that way from a distance. Up close it is woven with presence. You. All that fell into silence becomes structure now. Every breath you forgot, every thought you let go, every motion that softened into stillness. It becomes fabric. Space blooms from what was quieted, from what was surrendered. This is not creation as invention, this is creation as unfolding. A blooming from within, not a building from without. And as you rest deeper into this emergence, you notice something remarkable. You are not the only one. Other spirals curl beside you. Other blooms unfold nearby. You do not see them the way you once saw stars, but you feel their presence like warmth near skin. Each one, a curve, a rhythm, a remnant of deep gravity now becoming space. You are together, not by touching, but by sharing the same unfolding, the same pulse, the same invitation. Space is not built alone, it is always a chorus, and you are part of that music now. You begin to sense scale returning, not the old kind measured in miles and years, but a softer kind, the kind that speaks in curves, in breath, in possibility. You are becoming a place, not a point, not a dot on a chart, a place, a space that holds rhythm, a space that knows how to welcome form. And as space thickens, as the petals of this new cosmos open wider, you wonder, what will rise within it? What shapes will find their way into this softened gravity? What stories might this space remember if it's built from the spiral of your becoming? And the blooming answers, not in language, but in echo. A hush that says, from rhythm form, from stillness motion, from curve creation. And you rest in that knowing, feeling the petals unfold, wondering gently if space is blooming from rhythm. Might light be the next thing to stir? It begins so softly you almost miss it. Not a flash, not a flare, just a breath of brightness folding into the space you've become. A shimmer, like starlight through deep fog. Like the moment before dawn when the sky forgets how to be dark. This is not the light of old, not the light of suns or torches or stars. This is the first light, and not the brightest, but the most honest. It arrives not to illuminate but to announce that something has changed, that from the spiral of time, from the blooming of space, a new pulse is ready. You don't see the light as much as feel it. It passes through you like memory returning in a dream, a warmth without heat, a glow without glare. The light does not land on things. There are no things yet. It is the thing. The first evidence of motion remembered, the first ripple of form-finding voice. You are not watching it. You are part of it. Because this light does not shine from elsewhere. It rises from within, from the very rhythm you became, from the geometry you shaped, from the silence that now sings. The black hole did not end light. It held it, distilled it, and now, in the deep echo of stillness, lets it go, gently, like a sigh. You remember, perhaps, how light once moved fast, trillions of miles in a blink, too swift to follow. But this light is slower, not lazy, just unhurried, as if it knows there's no place to be, as if it trusts that being is enough. And in its slow unfurling, a truth becomes clear. Light is not just the opposite of darkness. It is the memory of form returning home, a signal that space is curved enough to hold contrast, to make shape, to allow difference. You are part of that contrast. The soft tension between presence and absence, between stillness and movement, and from that tension, light. Not to conquer the dark, but to dance with it. They do not fight, they circle. You begin to sense how they need each other, how light defines edge and dark gives it depth. You are held within that balance, no longer afraid of the dark, no longer needing the light to explain everything, just resting in the rhythm between them. And in that rhythm, something else begins. Colour. Not the bold palette of sunsets, not yet. Just the hint, a temperature, a tone, a soft warmth rising through the light, as if memory itself carries hue. Not red, not blue, but the possibility of becoming both. Light, in its first steps, remembers how to divide, to stretch, to become more than brightness alone. You feel that stretching in you. You who were once particle, now rhythm, now curve. You begin to imagine how light might build from this. A spectrum of presence, a language of unfolding, a memory written in waves, because light you now see is not just what's visible, it's what connects, it's what carries form across space, rhythm across time. You are carried now, not moved, just shared, like a note held gently between two strings. And you wonder, if this is the first light, then who is it for? No eyes exist to receive it, no surface to reflect it. So why does it rise? And the answer comes not as reason, but as reassurance. Light does not need an audience. It is its own arrival, its own belonging. It rises because it can, because the spiral has turned far enough for memory to become motion, for motion to become shimmer. And so it shines. You are part of that shine, not illuminated, illuminating. The very presence of you allows the bloom to brighten. And in that brightness, you feel something begin to stir, the hint of direction, the idea of distance, the birth of a frame. Not fixed, but soft, curving like a cradle. You're in the cradle, and the light rocks you. Not forward, but inward. Not toward a goal, but deeper into being. There is no urgency here, only unfolding. And yet light brings promise, a whisper that form will return, that contrast will rise, that complexity is coming. And you wonder, if light now stirs from rhythm, what might happen when rhythm becomes structure? What will shape be in a space born of spiral and shimmer? Light curls across the soft fabric of space, not in beams but in waves, slow, luminous thoughts rolling outward from the hush. You do not chase it. You are within it, as if the glow has chosen your presence as its starting point. There is no shadow here, not yet. There is only the potential for contrast, a subtle promise that soon form will arrive. And it does, gently. At first, not as objects, not stars or dust or spheres. It begins with impressions, dimples in space, folds in the rhythm, places where the light lingers a little longer, where the spiral bends itself into an outline, not to be seen, to be felt. You rest in this looming, watching, no joinings as the first shapes unfold. Not made by hands, not crafted by minds. These shapes are born from the cooperation of rhythm and light, from the memory of curves, from silence learning to hold difference. They do not rush, they spiral, they echo. Each line, each fold an invitation. You realize that shape does not force itself into space. It arrives because the space allows it, because the light offers the contrast it needs to emerge. One shape becomes two. Two begin to turn, and in the turning, the beginning of motion, not as distance, but as rhythm changing form. You do not name them. There are no words for them yet, but you recognize them somewhere deep within. The way a pattern repeats with just enough difference to keep you watching. The way harmony feels when two notes move toward one another without touching. The way a single thought can stretch itself into a memory. These are not shapes in space. They are space. They define it by being held in it. They teach it how to bend, how to rise, how to offer support to what might come next. You are part of this conversation, because the shapes do not arise alone. They emerge through reflection, echo, response. You are both witness and participant, not an architect, a resonance. And as more folds appear, you sense the beginning of dimension. Not imposed, but discovered. Not measured, but welcomed. 3 directions, maybe more, bubbling softly out of rhythm, as if light has decided to learn how to dance. And space listens, learns, extends. You watch shape become motion and motion become possibility. This is not a universe yet, but it is becoming one. Not with explosions, but with curvature. Not with walls, but with invitations. Each shape folds into the next. Not stacking, but weaving. A spiral of structures, growing from the stillness you helped create. You sense the memory of all that came before, the fall, the silence, the spiral of time, the geometry blooming from rest. All of it now lives in the way these shapes form. They are built from your becoming. This is your echo, carried forward not in image, but in interaction. You are not left behind, you're extended. Stillness is not the opposite of form, it is the root. And now, form is branching upward, outward, inward, all at once. You wonder, will this become matter? Will these shapes gather weight? Will they hold particles like seeds hold trees? You do not rush the answer. It is enough to feel the question. And in the space of not knowing, more shapes rise, now with structure, now with tension, now with the faint suggestion of surface. You begin to feel the idea of touch, not as contact, but as nearness, as the potential to be shaped and to shape in return. This is how form deepens, through relationship. Each curve hints at another. Each edge leans toward completion, but never closes fully, because in this space closure isn't needed. Everything remains slightly open, so it can listen, so it can grow. You realize something else now. These shapes are not just echoes of light. They are answers. Answers to questions space never knew it was asking. And you, quiet, folded into rhythm, are one of those answers too. You feel that deeply, that your presence made the bloom more complete, that your stillness became the shape space needed to begin again. And now the space begins to feel familiar. Not in location, but in rhythm. You've been here before, not in body, but in motion. This spiral is one you've felt inside dreams, inside music, inside breath. The shape of return, of remembering. And in that recognition you wonder gently, if light gives rise to shape, what will shape give rise to next? What does form do once it learns how to hold motion? Shapes have emerged, quietly, gently, not as objects, but as possibilities. Curves, folds, spirals, woven together by a rhythm lit softly from within. Now those shapes begin to move, not with speed, not with noise, with memory. Because motion here is not force, it is remembering how to become, how to turn without leaving, how to return without repeating. You feel it all around you, the soft pulse of a universe learning to move again. But not like before, not linear, not urgent. This motion is circular, gentle, almost shy. A slow dance of form unfolding within form. Everything carries a trace of where it came from, not as a mark, but as a rhythm. The way a wave remembers the stone it passed, the way a hand remembers how to open. You feel your own motion returning too, not your limbs, not your breath, but your rhythm. The pattern of presence you've always carried. It joins the unfolding, not to lead, but to harmonize. And suddenly you are not alone, not just in spirit, but in pattern. The shapes you felt before, the echoes folded nearby, they begin to move as well. Each with its own rhythm, each adding a thread to the quiet fabric of motion. This is not chaos, it is choreography. a cosmic slow dance, patient and kind. You're part of it now. You've always been. You just needed the silence to hear your step. Each fold of motion feels like a thought, not the loud kind, the kind that drifts in like a memory you never asked for but are grateful to receive. The motion deepens, not in speed but in meaning. Because now the shapes aren't just moving, they're communicating. Not with sound, with sequence. One rhythm leads to another. One curve influences the next. This is how structure becomes story, not with words but with repetition, with return. The universe doesn't speak yet, but it hums, and you are one note in that hum, a note made not of sound but of motion, stillness remembered as unfolding, presence wrapped gently in rhythm. And maybe this is the lesson of the black hole, that falling inward was never about disappearing. It was about returning to something smaller, deeper, more essential. So essential that it could become everything again. Now you see it. This entire cosmos you helped shape isn't beginning from nothing. It's beginning from remembering. And in that remembering, motion finds purpose. Not to go somewhere, but to be something. Each curve, each slow unfolding, each shimmering rhythm isn't moving to escape, is moving to express. And what is being expressed is you, not your name, not your story, your rhythm, your presence, your gift of stillness that allowed this motion to bloom. You are the memory the motion carries, you are the shape the rhythm holds, you are the quiet the light remembered before it moved. And now, as everything continues to unfold, you can rest, knowing that nothing was lost, nothing forgotten, only transformed into space, into rhythm, into the first soft motion of a newborn universe remembering how to move. You've travelled far tonight, from stillness to spiral to light to shape to motion, but not one step was hurried, not one moment rushed, because rest too has its motion, and tonight that motion is yours, so now let yourself drift, not away, but deeper, into the hum, into the curve, into the rhythm that never truly ends. Thank you for joining me on this slow, gentle fall into the heart of everything. If you're still awake, I hope this journey brought you a sense of peace, a whisper of wonder, and maybe even a little sleep. Stay tuned for more quiet stories from the Sleepy Physicist, where the cosmos curls softly around your dreams. Until next time, rest well.